All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Splash and Go. We have a special guest this week in Tyler Batzianis, the driver of the number 30's Legends car. Tyler, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us, bud.
Thank you guys for having me on.
I
So,
wanna formally apologize for how many times we said your name wrong.
yes.
You guys, you guys aren't the first, and I'm sure you guys won't be the last.
So we'll do our best. I've been trying to make sure we pronounce it properly every time we mention you throughout an episode or everything. But for everybody that's joining this episode, in case you didn't know, we will be sponsoring Tyler in 8 races this year on his number 30 Legends car. As we see here, we have it on the screen now. So Tyler, I'll let you start out. So all right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm from Oak Grove, California, the same place as that Kyle Larson kid. I'm currently 18
Mm.
years old, and I started racing just a couple years ago.
How'd you get into racing?
Back in the day, my dad and his buddies all ran at LACR down in LA, and ever since then, motorsports have kind of been trickled into my life until recently when I moved down here with my dad, and he asked me what I want to do, and I said I want to drive race cars. So, yeah, he's got a very wide range of motorsports and technical knowledge on him, and I'm here to learn, and I'm here to hopefully carry on the racing. I wouldn't say legacy, but the racing part of our family.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's so you got a history with it with your dad and everything. So was your dad running around when he was your age as well, or did he get into it later on?
He got into it later on more as a hobby, with his
Mhm.
buddies so they could hang out at the racetrack. But yeah, yeah, he's definitely a mechanical guy.
That's awesome.
One day, me and Alan will mess around and get like a late model stock or something. We talk about it all the time. Every time we see a good deal on Facebook Marketplace, we'll send it to each other and be like, "Should we do it? Should we do it?"
Mm. One of these days, one of these days.
Even though you've only been racing for a few years, where would you like to see this take you, or what are some of your career aspirations in it?
I mean, obviously, the biggest aspiration is go NASCAR Cup Series racing full time and compete for a championship or seven. But realistically, I just like to be racing weekly, whether that's in IMSA or Trans Am or somewhere else across the world. I just want to be a race car driver.
Okay, so you've definitely kind of you're planning on diving in head first completely, it seems, or you're diving in head first completely to really just go through and through and not just be a hobby, but be a lifestyle career.
Yeah, I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to have fun and win. So,
That's what we like to hear.
There you go.
First or
Yep.
last.
So last year you raced, what was your schedule like last year?
so last year we competed in 8 of the 10 scheduled races
Mhm.
with the Legends Tour Series, and we were able to get in the 6 out of the 8 main events on time, and we had a pretty solid year, but definitely a sophomore slump. We had one less top 10, and obviously competed in less races. But any experience you could get on track is experience you can keep forever. So
Yep. Well, with that being said, about how your last season went, what are your goals and uh, you know, that you have set for yourself for this season, and what would you consider a successful season for yourself?
yeah, definitely this year, our goal is to make every A main. I mean, whether that's on time or racing through the B main, and also at least get 2 top 10s. I think a successful season would be 2 top 10s. Past that career best of 1 from 2022. But I think a perfect season for us would be 5 top 10s and maybe a top 5 sneaked in there.
Mhm.
Um, but just running all the races, that's the biggest thing for us. Keeping the car
Yeah.
clean and uh, not making anyone mad. So
Yeah, that seems to be a key
Yeah.
as we we see through all levels.
Yep.
So, well, while we're while we're talking about it, we've talked about your schedule and your career, and aspirations, your goals. Tell us a little bit about Legends Racing in general, the car, the body, and just a little detail on like what exactly it all is and it's about.
yeah, so Legends Racing, it's pretty straightforward. You got a Yamaha power plant, and whether that's the newer motors or the older ones like we have, it's a motorcycle engine inside of a small, uh, 1934 style race car, and um, it's very hard to pass, and it's great racing because with a small and short wheelbase, you're able to get sideways, but you don't. It's pretty easy to catch, which
Mhm.
leads to a lot of great side by side racing. And the bumpers are cheap,
Mm.
so you can use them. You can use them up pretty good before you drop too much money on them.
So how is the so talk about how your event or your weekend when you go racing goes. Like what's the schedule of your weekend? Because I'm not really familiar with like because I know you're talking about A and B main. I'm not really familiar with that. So like how's the event set up every race?
Yeah, so on Fridays we would have a practice day typically. That
Mhm.
starts around mid-afternoon, late afternoon, and then Saturday is race day. So we'd show up. We have 2 to 3 practice sessions in the morning, and then after that we would have qualifying. Some tracks have groups, some tracks have single car qualifying for 2 laps. And based off qualifying, you get set into your heat races, which those are just for fun. There's no points, normally no money, maybe a trophy on the line. Those usually are about 8 to 10 laps, depending on where you're at.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, you'll have the B main. Sometimes you'll have two B mains if there's a lot of cars there, but they'll typically take the top two to top four drivers in a B main, and those guys would move on to the A main.
Mhm.
Um, but through qualifying, the top 16 drivers get through to the A main automatically. Everyone else goes to a B main.
Okay.
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 So you just like qualify top 16 and then you don't have to do well, you still have to do the heat race, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then but you can race so can you race through your heat race and not have to go to the B main like if you start at the back of your heat race and end up at the front, would you skip the B main and go to A? Or
No, the heat race is just an exhibition race. It's not like dirt racing.
okay. Where can we find you racing?
So starting this Saturday, March 23rd, we'll be at Roseville's All American Speedway out here in California. And then on, let's see, April 20th, we'll be at the Stockton 99 Speedway in Stockton, California. Then we'll head back in May, on May 4th, to the All American Speedway once again, as well as on June 1st at All American Speedway. And then we'll make a stop on a Wednesday, July 3rd at Stockton 99 Speedway. And then we'll go August 24th at All American Speedway, September 7th at All American Speedway, and October 5th to round out our season, hopefully fighting for a track championship at All American Speedway.
It seems like All American Speedway is the main the main
It's the
place
main
you'll be
place.
racing, huh?
Yep.
Talk to me about how 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 does all since that's the place you'll be racing the most, how does that track race and what is your how does your style suit you or what changes have you had to make yourself a better driver at that track?
The biggest thing I love about the track is that very good side by side racing. There's multiple groups there. You can run the top and both corners. And the biggest thing I've had to change about my racing style is not being afraid to go deeper into the braking zones. It's a very deceptive track, but what suits me best is off momentum, off of corner momentum.
Hmm.
where visually you may think you can't do it, even though you can. I think I've excelled at those kind of tracks, and we've definitely put that strength to our success in the past there.
Yeah, well, I think
Nice.
that's something that helps with you not going as deep into the braking zone. I think that does help you carry momentum better through the corner to be able to launch better out of the
Yeah,
You can build that. You can build that speed and momentum through the corner.
Right.
So.
Right.
I've never raced a race car, but in my head I could do it. I get you know. I've got a lot of hours on NASCAR Heat 5.
So to kind of go back to how you've developed as a driver, when you unload for the weekend, how do you like your car to be set up? Loose or tight? What would be your ideal setup?
on Fridays, I want it on the tighter side. I want to see what the track's going to give me if I'm put in a situation. I want to have that knowledge to know if later on when on Saturdays, which I usually want the car on the looser side, um, to have that knowledge in the back of my pocket so I can, at the last minute, if changes need to be had, I can say,
Mhm.
okay, I know how the car is going to react. I know what I need to do if the track is too hot, too slick, or if we are loose and need to make a different adjustment. I can reference that in my mind.
Okay. So a tight car to really, like I said, get a judgment of the track, and then from there, do what you got to do.
Yep.
I'm at in California in some of those summer days, and when you don't want to lose car on some of them hot slick tracks because you'll end up backwards before you know it.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Well,
with NASCAR being your aspiration and your goal in your racing career, I know obviously you're racing short tracks and that's NASCAR's roots and the short tracks haven't raced that well for a really long time. What's your thoughts on like the current state of NASCAR and the direction that it's going in?
I think from a popularity standpoint, I think obviously it's been getting better, but I think a lot of that's more from the social side, social media side, such as the Netflix documentary and going out to LA for the Clash. But at the same time, I feel like the racing has, especially at short tracks, like you mentioned, Daniel. At the short tracks, it's getting better each year, but I feel like there's just something's missing with the short track races.
Yeah, I know a lot of the drivers have been hammering horsepower, 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 but this weekend tire wear really seemed to be, if you don't want to add horsepower, bring a tire like that to a short track and
right.
make them work for it. Um, so how do your tires how do your tires wear on your short tracks? Or is it something like to where it's really imperative to manage it like it was this weekend at Bristol? Or is it like at NASCAR's mile and a half where you just go 100% the whole race and you'll be good?
It kind Our tire wear is pretty good. We use about a set and a half a season
Mhm.
for 8 to 10 races. Um, but it's definitely a factor. We don't run slits, we run semi-slicks,
Mhm.
um,
Hmm.
with the Hoosiers. But I mean, if you want to have good tires later in the season, you can definitely take care of them a little more throughout the beginning of the year. But it's not Bristol type of wear for sure, but it's definitely not as big as a factor as slick tires.
Yeah, I
So,
guess that's a good thing. That could get real pricey if it
yeah.
was. Y'all are going to do
So
two or three sets of race. That'd be.
that'd be a lot. It'd be expensive real quick. Well, with that, like when you get towards the end of the life of that set that you have on, can you tell it in your times, or is it just a feel in the car, or is it just a visualization of
Um,
it?
it's more of a visual because the Hoosier tires are pretty sturdy. They've got a lot of meat on them. You'll be able to tell a little bit on times, but you'll either hear it pop or you'll see the cords start to show. So there's
Oh, so
not
you run it
really
till there's nothing
any
left.
I was about to say.
just about, yeah.
Okay. Then it will look like Bristol, Daniel.
Yeah.
Same. What were your thoughts on Bristol this past week? Did you watch the cup race?
Yes, I did watch it, and I thought it was amazing, except for the fact that we could only go 50 laps. I thought the racing was great. It was amazing to see people fly through the field and people fall through the field. Um, I mean, if they can make that tire last 65, 70 laps instead and not
Hmm.
50, um, especially with the cautions coming out, I felt like it was kind of disappointing to see Goodyear have to roll out an extra set of tires for each team. But that's just part of racing. It's all about trial and error, whether that's with your setup or with the tire compound. But it definitely gives Goodyear a good spot to kind of reel back a little on how much wear is given. But it's Bristol, so there's not really a bad race there.
Yep.
True.
So
Very
one
true.
burning question that I've been saving this whole, well, I guess not this whole week because we're only on Tuesday, but it's kind of for everyone, but we'll talk about it more in detail on our main episode this week. Do we want the dirt at Bristol back or keep it the way it is now?
I'd like to throw a third option to that. I'd say talk to Tony Stewart. Eldora's out there,
Eldora.
but there's also many other dirt tracks in the nation. There's like look at that SRX when they were running. They had multiple dirt tracks in multiple different parts of the country. The biggest thing for me though is that if it was any other track, honestly, but Bristol, I'd be okay with it. Um, But Bristol, is its own monster. There's a reason why it's called the Great West Coliseum.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And especially how that race went Sunday. It's like we've been robbed of that for 3 years, you know?
Do what?
Yeah. So, well, I guess the, the last question that I have for you is if we come to California, can I drive your race car?
You know what? I'll see what I can do. No promises, but I can see what I can do.
I saw a little hesitation in his face. He was like,
There was a little bit more than a little hesitation.
I know it's not real life, but William Byron, Rajah Caruth, they're sim drivers.
We all start somewhere. So, all right. Well, to round out this episode of Splash and Go, Tyler, can you tell us where our fans can find you, where and support you, where we can follow you and your team as you go through this season this year?
Yeah, so currently we're on Instagram and Facebook.
Hmm.
You can find me on Instagram at Tyler_B_racing. And you can also find myself and our team on Facebook at my first and last name, which is Tyler Batzianis on Facebook. Those are the two spots that you can find us this year.
All right,
and
guys,
we
and
will have
also
those linked below as well.
yes. So check the links. Keep an eye out. So I'm sure that we will be hearing from Tyler again in a later episode and kind of follow up throughout the season and follow him on Instagram if you want to keep up with everything that he's got going on. Tyler, again, we appreciate your time to come on here um, in the later afternoon for you. So we're grateful for this opportunity that you've presented us with and cannot wait to see that car later on this week and going around the speedway this weekend. So good luck to you Saturday. And yeah, man, you got anything else for us?
No, I just want to thank you guys for reaching out to me, and hopefully we can get this Gas is on the Right podcast, number 30, Car in Victory Lane.
Hey,
That's what I
let's
like to
see it.
hear.
Yes, they
So, well, we appreciate your time so much, Tyler.